All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachakwadash. Double honors to the elder apostles, the elder bishops, the elders of Great Millstone, who rule very well, very beautifully. Double salutations be unto the Akim, I hear pushing this gospel in truth and in sincerity to the best of their ability, given to them by Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Peace, blessings, and salutations be unto the elect scattered abroad. May the election of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Lord willing, fall upon your houses. This is the brother Corner Wath come back at you, Lord will, with the edifying lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Lord will. It is edifying, Lord will. It is straight to the point. And, as you see, I'm about, 10, 11 minutes, about 11 and a half minutes into this video. Which I had just seen this, right? It says inside self-sustaining off-grid community living on over 40 acres of raw land. And we've seen the same mentality, come from, IUIC, right? That they ultimately had that land blitz, gathering all this money, and then ultimately purchased, some land, I think down south, if I'm not mistaken, and this is, basically the same mindset that you see right here with these guys. I don't know. I don't know what camp these guys are.
Waste.
They have these. Let's see. It says one nation. You see Christ right there, man. So you know that these guys are, ultimately bugged out, right? They don't have the truth, and it seems to be like their leader, as you see right here, official Big Super or Supper or whatever you want, Big Super, which is the guy you see right here in the gray, but nonetheless, they ultimately went and got some kind of, land and created this compound with, multiple people, which, hey, we're not in the time for all that, man. That's that, stay here and dwell in this place mentality, man, right? Really, you should be in the mentality of wanting this place to be destroyed, right? Not trying to set up some type of compound or seeing, if you guys can endure another 30, 40,000 years, right? As we've seen from, Al-Azhar, the former head of Sakari, which look at where he's at now, man, right? He's gone back into the world. He said he wants nothing to do with this, the Israelite movement, right? Which is not a movement, right? Ultimately, the Israelites are a nation of people, the chosen nation of the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, through his only beloved begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, right? And Al-Azhar is an Israelite. There's no, he can't say, that he's not an Israelite. He is an Israelite, But as he said, he's done with this Israelite thing, wants nothing to do with it. Right, so again, now we see him back in the world, man. Right, being a fucking straight up nigga. Right, the last time I seen this nigga was wearing all fucking black. Right, that's demonic as hell, bro. All black, and thinking he was looking good and shit like that with his fat old fucking belly sticking out and shit. That's the same mentality, man. That we saw in the leaders of IUIC and Al-Azhar that you see in these guys today, man. And again, that's not the spirit to be in, right? Trying to, get a 40 acres and a mule, our 40 acres, is going to be given to us and more, right? It's going to be given to us in, the kingdom, right? Lord, will we be, get there on the first go around, we gonna get ours, man. We're going to be rewarded, by Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, man, right? Because this place is destroyed, man. I was just going into a lesson yesterday. Let me grab this. I was going into a lesson yesterday. And, going into the, the glyphosate, man. Right? You got glyphosate in our food. Every fucking, it's damn near everywhere. Fruits, vegetables, breads, meats, right? Dairies, right? You got that shit everywhere, And this is what we eat, right? So you best believe that those guys were out there in some, part of the desert, of Arizona, right? They're out here in Arizona, One of the dudes, said that he's been, been in that compound for 5 years, So he's been there, pretty damn long. So they've been doing this, man, But again, that's not the right mentality to be in, But I'll grab this is Micah 2:10. It says, "Arise ye and depart," right? We're supposed to spiritually depart from this place, man. You know, they talk about, you know, ultimately, hey, you know, like, you know, the interviewer, he was like, hey, do y'all ever, you know, think about Babylon, right? He's talking about like being in the city and shit like that, you know? And they were like, no, we don't think about it. Motherfucker, you still in Babylon, right? You're still in Babylon physically, right? But this is talking about spiritually departing from this place, man. You know, and this right here, this mentality is not spiritually departing from this place, right? Because you ultimately are wanting to build some kind of compound where you can sit here and build a community, right? Build, you know, and ultimately govern your own. You know, it's like you trying to have the kingdom here in this wicked, evil, and adulterous fucking place, man. You know, it's never going to prosper. And see, every time that Jake tried to have something, you know, here in America, what happened? Esau came through and fucking destroyed it, right? Tulsa, Oklahoma being a really, you know, prominent, you know, piece of evidence, right? They came through and just dropped the bombs and were killing our people, man. You know, because this is Esau's shit, man. We're still under the curses. You know, Baruch 3:8, we are yet this day in our captivity, man. So, again, this is not spiritually departing, right? From, you know, from this place, right? You're ultimately trying to build something here, man. You know, but it says, arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest. This is not our rest. We're not going to find, you know, some kind of rest for our souls or our spirits, you know, here in Babylon, man. No. You know, absolutely not. Don't matter if you're, you know, out in the boonies and you're living off of, you know, off grid and whatnot. You know, it don't matter. You're still going to be dealing with that, man. Right? Because Esau technically still owns, right, the land. You know, that they ultimately building on. Esau owns it, man. Who do you think they're paying their taxes to? Right? I seen in I think it was in the comment section. Let's go back. You know, someone was talking about like, do they have jobs? Let's see. Says something about it right here. Yeah, it's seen. You know how when you're watching the video, it kind of circulates through comments. I had seen one. We were basically asking, if these people had jobs, and it says they have jobs, right? So you still have to have a job. You're still paying taxes, right? You still have to pay for that land, you know. So you're not at rest, right? You still have to wake up, and then again, it looks like it's far, you know, from, you know, any kind of, you know, regular civilization. So, and you best believe their drive home is insane, right? Their drive to work and their drive home is insane, man. You know. Oh, right here it says, is the genesis of another Black Wall Street in this century, right? Which Black Wall Street was Tulsa, Oklahoma, right? It says easily. I see black commerce developing in this extraordinary community. Stay blessed. Which again, every time, you know, we went and built something, what happened? Right? It was tore down. You know. There's a lot of comments. I'm probably not gonna get to it, man. But you know. Yeah. Right. So they do have jobs. You know. Let's go back to this, man. Let's finish this out. Micah 2:10. Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted. It shall destroy you even with the sword of destruction. Right, man. You know? The food, the water. He's talking about that water coming out the ground, 9.5 alkaline. You know? Probably have to process that water, you know, a lot, or filter that water a lot in order to get a good, you know, cup of, you know, water. Right? You see that they had those big ass totes. You know, and I don't know for sure, man. It might be illegal here in the state of Arizona, right, to collect, you know, rainwater. But even then, you don't want that, you know, because all those chemicals you spraying in the air, that shit comes down in your rain, you know. It's disgusting, man. This place is fucking, you know, why would you want this place to continue? You know, we want this place to fucking go down, man. Let me grab this. I had it pulled up. Right, because the scriptures talk about praying for a few days, right? Right, this is 2:10, 2nd Esdras 2:10. Thus saith Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua unto Esdras, tell my people that I will give them the kingdom of Jerusalem, which I would have given unto Israel. Right, right. So we understand that the kingdom of Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua is going to be given unto us, man. You know, And that's coming, right? When the Lord ultimately says that he's going to do something, and you best believe, right, that word, whatever the Lord speaks, right, through his prophets is going to come to pass, right? And we understand that he has the true prophets, right, on the highways and byways on the scene today, right? Just as they were aforetime, which we believe the true prophets begin with our elder apostles, a great millstone, all the way down to those that, come up under great millstone, man, whether they be of great millstone or a true great millstone affiliate, man, right? We have the 100% truth, of the scriptures, man. And it's of a truth that Yahweh Shem El Shai is going to bring forth the kingdom, and very soon. Verse 11, it says, "Their glory also will I take unto me, and give these the everlasting tabernacles which I have prepared for them. They shall have the tree of life for an ointment of sweet savor. They shall neither labor nor be weary." And that's something that, we're waiting for, man, because we've been on bottom for so long, right? Part of the curse is that we, get our bread by the sweat of our brow, man. Going back to, the curses of Adam, Genesis, the 3rd chapter, right? So we're constantly working, constantly slaving away, constantly doing, working our ass off, man. But soon, that's all going to come to an end, right? We're going to be on top. We're not going to be on bottom anymore, man. These guys are still sitting here slaving their ass away just to pay for a land that's not even theirs, right? As he said, once you get the land, man, you ain't got no land. You don't own that shit. You don't own none of that land that you're on. You still have to pay taxes. You still have to, at least property tax or something like that, If those guys say they're not, they're fucking lying, man. These guys don't have the truth, and we see that they're not in the right spirit. Right? Because as it says right here, it says, "Go and ye shall receive. Pray for few days unto you, that they may be shortened. The kingdom is already prepared for you." Watch, right? We're praying for a few days. We want this place to hurry up and pass away, right? Because as we read in 2 Esdras, the 4th chapter, right, verses 28 and 29, it says, "But as concerning the things whereof thou asked me, I will tell thee, for evil is sown, but the destruction thereof is not yet come." Right? This place is sown with evil. Right, 2 Esdras 15, right, tells you that wickedness hath exceedingly polluted the whole earth. So there's not one place on this planet where wickedness hath not ultimately touched, whether it be by, chemtrails, whether it be by land pollution, by them dumping certain chemicals, this and the third, wherever, or them dumping in one place, that it evaporates, gets into the clouds, and then the clouds dump that shit somewhere else. Which fucks up the land, which fucks up the animals, the food supply, whatever it may be, right? Jacks it all up. See, this is what this damn devil has done. Esau has generationally destroyed the earth in every place, in every place. Yes, you still have some beautiful sights, right, throughout the planet, even here in America. You got a lot of beauty within America, man, as far as like the natural scenery, but you best believe you can go to these places and test the water, and it's got some type of chemical or in it or around it, or you test the air. Esau done fucked everything up, especially in the cities, man. But again, right, this place hasn't been destroyed yet, and this is why we're constantly, right, giving him no rest till he make Jerusalem a praise in the earth, as you read in Isaiah the 62nd chapter. Verses 6 and 7, praying for short days, right? So this place can pass. Verse 29, it says, "If therefore that which is sown be not turned upside down, and if the place where the evil is sown pass not away," meaning this place stays and remains, right? Then cannot it come that is sown with good, meaning the kingdom of Yahweh Shem Shai is not going to be established, which we understand that the Lord said it would, therefore it will. Right, and it's gonna happen soon, right? Very soon, right? These guys are not in the right mindset, right? To try to build, some type of compound or try to, give themselves some type of rest. No, we're not in those times, man. We're in the time where we have to fight. We're in the time where we have to suffer, in order to receive that which was promised, which is the kingdom of Yahweh Shem El Shai. These guys are not in the right mindset, man, at all. Right? These guys, out here in Arizona, you don't see these guys on the highways and byways, I've never heard of these specific people, you know, in this group. I know that, you know, with that sign. And when I know ISUPK's got the little, you know, what they call the Star of David, or, you know, which is the Star of Remphan, you know. You know, it's a pagan symbol, if you will, you know, but I don't think these guys are ISUPK, you know. So I never really heard of this group out here, but I had seen this video like maybe 20-30 minutes ago, you know, and started watching some of it, you know, maybe 45 minutes ago, started watching some of it and just peeping it, man. These guys are not in the right spirit, man. These are the, you know, they got Zion, they got their fringes, so on and so forth. They're not in the right spirit, man. They don't have the truth. You know, because starting with our elder apostles of Great Millstone, they're constantly preaching, you know, being diligent, doing this work, you know. Don't have no fucking gimmicks, right? Don't, you know, be one deep, not too deep, you know. And our main focus is what? Prophecy. You know, clearly these guys are not focused on prophecy. This entire land is going to be destroyed. America, a.k.a. Babylon the Great, is going to be completely destroyed. Right, so why try to establish something here, man? When it's gonna be destroyed right along with it. You know, these guys aren't focused on prophecy, right? Which tells you that that Yahweh Shemel Shah is not dealing with it, man, right? Because the spirit of prophecy is a testimony of Yahweh Shai, you know, and that's just the bottom line, man. You know, but I just wanted to hit that, you know, and touch on this, man. These guys, this whole trying to buy some, you know, acre or buy some land and build a compound, and you know what I mean. That's ultimately you trying to seek out that rest. You know, when that rest is gonna come, right, through Yahweh Bashem El Shah. You know, man. But yeah, that's all I got. Lord will is edifying. Lord will straight to the point. I'm gonna give all praise, honor, glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachak, Kodash, double honor to the elder apostles, the elder bishops of Great Millstone. Till next time, I say shalom.